there's probably one person on this planet that loves Clayton Kershaw more than me. It's probably you, Jeff Snyder. As far as the devout Christians around the world, you're right at the top. And I know that your heart sunk a little bit on Friday when he leaves the mound when he did. A lot of people were overreacting on X for good reason, just because he didn't fight it. He gives the ball to Doc and he leaves after just throwing one inning. But then we learned after the game, it's a bone spur in his toe. And we learned yesterday from Dave Roberts that he's in a boot, and I'm a little concerned about his role moving forward as far as this season goes, because this is someone that was still ramping his way up. He looked like a legitimate number 4 or number 5 that had some flashes as a 2 or 3 since returning. But do you think it's difficult to see him having a role, at the very least, in the NLDS? I think you want to keep him warm, keep him relevant, and maybe you can use him in the NLCS potentially. But just what do you assess Clayton Kershaw with right now? What's your view on that?
Yeah, even before the toe injury, or before we found out about the toe injury, whichever the case is, I don't think that Kershaw was in line to be in their postseason rotation.
Yeah.
I think the Dodgers' sentimentality and everything, they are going to try to put out the best roster. And assuming that Glasnow and Yamamoto both come back healthy, which right now we can assume that, but we'll have to see. But assuming those guys come back healthy, it seems pretty clear to me that your 4 starters in the postseason are in some order: Flaherty, Glasnow, Yamamoto, and Stone. That's your 4 starters. Buehler and Bobby Miller, both with their recent starts, for me, probably have a better case than Kershaw does anyway, because when they are pitching well, they have strikeout stuff. And I think strikeout stuff becomes more important in the postseason when runs are harder to come by, when you need to be able to shut down an inning, shut down a rally with the strikeout. And Kershaw, like you said, he's my favorite player of all time. I love Clayton Kershaw. He doesn't have strikeout stuff anymore. And so I don't think that he is the right answer for a postseason rotation spot. I do think that they're going to try to get him involved in the postseason. I think my heart did drop on Friday because I assumed it was an arm injury. And for me, there's no way that Kershaw was going to fight through rehab again to come back. I actually texted my wife. I said, I think I might have just watched Clayton Kershaw's career end. And then finding out that it was the toe, it's like, okay, good. He's at least going to come back probably. I have no idea how long a bone spur that's so bad you have to come out of game. I don't know how long it takes to feel better, but he'll probably be back this season. He's not going to get to 3,000 strikeouts this season, so maybe he'll be back next year too. I don't know. But I think that they're going to try to get him involved in some sort of, because you can have 9 relievers in the postseason. Yeah. And so you've got a spot for a guy who, hey, we're up 8-2, go throw 3 innings for us, and it's weird to think of Kershaw in that role, but obviously Kershaw is the ultimate competitor. He wants to be on the mound dominating as a starter, but also he wants to win another World Series. And if that's his best way to help the team do that, I think he'd be open to that. And I think he would relish that role. And I was saying yesterday, what I want most is for Game 4 of the World Series, Dodgers up 3-0, and they're up 10-1 in Game 4, and Clayton Kershaw takes them out for the 9th inning, and Kershaw gets the last out of the World Series. That's all we really need,
See, that would be beautiful, and I definitely could get behind that, but it just doesn't seem like something that Clayton Kershaw necessarily would embrace in my eyes, because we know that all he's known is, I'm a superstar. I'm one of the best to ever do it. He never wants anything given to him. You saw how his big contract was structured when he became the first pitcher to make over $200 million. He doesn't want things given to him, and that just makes me wonder, because as you mentioned, in long relief, a guy that you need a mop-up guy, is he really going to be reduced to that? I mean, still, he would be contributing. I mean, the ring would be more relevant than if he was on the IL or just not on the roster at all whatsoever. But could we see possibly a piggyback situation? Maybe he opens the game, goes through the order once, something in that fashion. I mean, could you see that potentially?
It's possible. I really think without the strikeout stuff, it's hard to picture him counting on him to be and obviously, like I said, if injuries happen, if somebody doesn't come back, he may be forced into that 4th starter role. But I think that just looking at giving your team the best chance to win, and I see some of the comments saying, that there's no room on the roster for a mop-up guy. But the fact is, a mop-up guy in the postseason is still important.
Yeah,
because you still have to win that game, and saving your bullpen for the next game is important. When every game matters,
just ask Robleski.
Matters. yeah, Robleski, he pooped the bed.
R.I.P. to his ERA.
And then he wore it,
Yeah.
and that was awesome. He saved the bullpen. And it was a situation where maybe they don't put Kershaw on the roster of the NLDS, maybe not even the NLCS. It's hard for me to picture, if the Dodgers get to the World Series, it's hard for me to picture Kershaw not being on the roster in some form. But I could also see it being, okay, we now have, we're one game away from winning. Who isn't available in this next game? Okay, hey, guess what? Your arm hurts. You're off the roster. And then add Kershaw to the roster. I don't know. I think they want him. But, even if he's just in the dugout, he has been a valuable part of this team for years. And even this year, he's done enough this year that he's going to earn his ring when the Dodgers win it, whether he is on the mound at the end or not.
100%. Couldn't agree with you more. I just think that with Clayton Kershaw, it always seems like somehow, some way he enters the mix, whether it be as a depth piece because someone else gets injured, or they just want to find some type of narrative to have him go in there and contribute in some capacity. But I think the best thing for him for the remainder of the season, try to get healthy. I mean, a bone spur is usually due to overwork, so you just rest it and hopefully he gets back. But clearly the velocity was down, not on just the fastball, the curveball was just semi down. But I think when you look at the future next season, he's got the player option. I think that he absolutely has to return, and you need a 6-man rotation. He would factor in nicely to a 6-man rotation. You're 32 strikeouts away from joining that very, very exclusive 3,000 strikeout club. Any doubt in your mind that he's going to return next year, Jeff?
There are some doubts in my mind. I don't know Clayton Kershaw personally, much to my chagrin. I think we should be best friends, but as of right now, we're not. So I don't have any idea how important the 3,000 strikeouts is to him. I don't know that he's ever really addressed it directly. And so if the Dodgers did win the World Series this year, especially if he was able to play a role in that, it's very easy for me to see him just riding off into the sunset as a 2-time World Series champion. But again, like, that's because I don't know how important it is for me personally. If it was me, but yeah, I am going to pitch however long it takes. If it takes me 3 years to get those 32 strikeouts, I'm going to pitch until then, as long as somebody will keep giving me a job. And the fact is, he does control his destiny for next year because he has the player option. I wouldn't mind seeing him take the Roger Clemens approach and take the first half of the season off and then come back in July and say, okay, I am well rested. I got to spend the whole school year with my kids at home in Texas. And now I, start spring training in late May and come back in July. I wouldn't mind seeing that approach. But that really would be purely chasing the number. And that's the thing. Kershaw, as great as he is, he's never outwardly expressed that much interest in the personal accolades, the personal numbers. And so I don't know that he, just like you say, it's hard to see him taking a mop-up role in the postseason. It's hard for me to see him doing something that is so clearly just to get to a personal milestone.
I tend to agree. He doesn't strike me as a guy that wants to have a victory lap just for the sake of taking a victory lap. That doesn't seem like something Clayton Kershaw wants to do. But having said that, he looked pretty decent after returning. And if he can still help a team, he absolutely is going to continue to pitch, in my opinion. I think if you just get the Kersh that we saw a couple starts ago, I mean, he still can be a number 4, number 5 starter. And as long as he has a role on this team, I see him taking that. I think for the rest of this season, I just really, I pray that, change the locks on the bullpen. Do not let him in that bullpen. I do not want to see Clayton Kershaw coming out of that bullpen and further doing anything that could hurt his legacy, the narrative. We saw what happened in 2019. I think get as healthy as you possibly can. Get ready for next year. If they need you because of injuries, then you consider it then. But as far as the 3,000 strikeout thing, I really hope that you're wrong, because I want him at 3,000 strikeouts. I don't care if I have to bring Dallas to LA for him to come back for another year. I need him to join that club. Of the 19 members in that 3,000 strikeout club, only 3 lefties: Steve Carlton, Randy Johnson, and CC Sabathia. Would be just the 4th southpaw. That record would look so pretty to me, Jeff.